episode number 2 of the rechristening of the UFC save here on my channel. So last time out, we did a couple of things. We booked 4 fight cards, but we booked the first fight card as a whole in its entirety as the main card. So what I'm going to do for the second episode is get a little bit more deeper into it, and we're going to book the prelims for this first show, and we're going to book the main card and prelims for the second show. And as I do that, I'm going to kind of, go about my thoughts and whatnot, telling you why I'm booking these fights and what I'm expecting and whatnot. And if we breeze through this, we might we might just, book some more. That's the main, fun part about this game is just booking the fights and seeing the results and reacting to it and going, okay, this is what I'm planning next. And that's when it's going to get even more fun. It's just once we get everyone at least one fight down, then it's going to get really interesting to see, okay, well, he's going to be fighting this guy next, or he's going to be fighting for the title, or this is going to be a title eliminator. That's to be seen. And the thing is, after this week 2, I think that's going to be when we do our first pay-per-view. Because at that point, that's about a month in advance. So let's, F it. Let's just go ahead and book that right now. Saturday, week 3, May 3rd. So Saturday, week 3 of May. And it's not a TV show because it is UFC 249. And where are they having? Well, they're having that in Florida. But this one, I think we're going to go ahead and have it. I mentioned California for Uriah Faber. So let's go ahead and put this pay-per-view in California. Knows how to party. All right, so UFC 249 in California. Let's go ahead and do that. And let's set up the rest of this fight card. So prelims. First off, is there anybody that I'm missing who lives in Florida? Because I didn't do it for this. I didn't do it for this fight card. More than likely, not in the heavyweight division, just anybody. Does look like there's a couple. So catchweight female Tisha Torres, Nina Ansaroff, and quite a few, as a matter of fact, for the men. So let's go ahead and see just who we have here. So Tisha Torres and Nina Ansaroff. Now, this is a prelim first off, so we have to keep that in mind. Tisha Torres has low-level national, meaning she's probably going to be either a pay-per-view prelim or a main card fighter for one of these ESPN Plus fight nights. So we'll go ahead and keep her off of there. Now, Nina Ansaroff is coming off of a loss. She's a hometown fighter, but she has low-level popularity. And even though she's in the top 10, let's go ahead and get her a fight here. See if we can find someone in the top 15 for her. Let's see. Let's go ahead and do it like this. Xiaonan Yan. You know what? This might be a good fight for her. Especially since Yan is on a winning streak. Her last, I don't think she's really supposed to be number 7, first of all. And she's coming off a loss. And it looks like Yan is actually favored here. So we're going to go ahead and do this fight. It's suited for the prelims. And so that's where it's going to go. Nina Ansaroff versus Xiaonan Yan. And let's see. Tisha Torres. I'm going to go ahead and save her. Shanna Dodson. And Hannah Goldie. I might just do both of them against each other, because I know who Shanna Dobson is, and she's more than likely getting cut if she loses this fight. So let's just go ahead and do that. Where's Hannah Goldie at? Shanna Dobson versus Hannah Goldie. And it says Shanna Dobson is incredibly favored. And I'm not exactly sure why. That is very interesting to me, considering that Dobson is not that good of a fighter. That is very interesting. Nonetheless, can't really do this fight anymore, so let's see if we can find someone else for Shanna Dobson who will give her a little bit more of a test. And it looks like this right here, Polyana Viana Mota. We'll go ahead and do this fight. And so now let's go ahead and see if there's any men who are hometown fighters that we can put on the prelims. Patrick Williams in the bantamweight division, coming off a losing streak, last losing to Luke Sanders. I actually went to that fight card, that Poirier versus Gaethje fight card. That was here in Arizona. And so Umar Nurmagomedov give him his first fight against Patrick Williams on this fight card. Is he the brother or the cousin of Habib? Personal. So that's terrible. They don't have his. I think it's his brother. Either way, that looks like what we are going to be doing. Yeah, we'll go and do that. So we'll give Umar his debut against Patrick Williams. I'm sure Habib will be very excited about that. All right, any more hometown fighters? Quite a few, as a matter of fact. So I think we'll just do a couple more. Miguel Baeza. All right. Let's see, what's an even fight for you? Sergey Kandosko. Let's go ahead and do that. Undefeated fighter, also Miguel Baeza. All right, so those guys are a little bit too high name, and he's ranked. A little bit too high name, or he's ranked to be in the prelims and to be on this. Mike Davis, Michelle Quinones. Let's go ahead and do them against each other. Mike Davis against Michelle Quinones. Two hometown fighters going at it. Actually, probably not a good idea. Looks like Mike Davis is a little bit too good for him. See if we can find an even fight for him. Nad Narimani. All right. Let's go ahead and do that one. And now we have two more fights to book for this undercard. And it's going to be Michelle Quinones. See if we can find an even fight for him. And it's going to be against Atman Azaitar. All right. So that is the prelims booked. Actually, sorry, one more to book. And let's make it a women's fight. Hannah Goldie, who can we find for you? That'd be an even fight. Not looking like much of anything, apart from Priscilla Cachoeira. It doesn't look like there's really an even fight for you because apparently you're not that good. So you might be on the outs if you lose this one against Priscilla Cachoeira. All right, so that is all of them booked. Featured prelim, Nina Ansarov versus Xiaonan Yan. And then co-featured prelim will be that one. Let's go ahead and move these around a little bit. All right, that seems about right. All right, cool. So now it is time to book the main card for our next three fight cards. And you know what? Let's just go ahead and book our pay-per-view now. Because as soon as we have our pay-per-view booked, we'll have a better understanding of who we have to book for the other cards. So UFC 249, the closest that, let me reword this. The next title that was supposed to be fought for was Habib's championship fight against Tony Ferguson. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and get that out of the way right now. So we're going to do Habib versus Ferguson as the main event for this fight card in California. Actually, that seems weird, though, in California. Well, we know that they're not going to want to do it in Las Vegas because Habib's not a big fan of Las Vegas. But, yeah, it's kind of a fight for Vegas. But we'll just go ahead and do that. We'll go ahead and book this fight. Take off hometown fighter. And we'll make it Habib versus Tony Ferguson for the lightweight championship. Looks like a very even fight. Very excited. I was excited for it in real life too, but sometimes that's just how life goes sometimes. Habib versus Ferguson. All right. So, what else are we going to do on this card? Now, Habib versus Ferguson is a great main event. But let's see if we can make this fight card even better. Let's go ahead and go down to catchweight female. We want to put a female fight on this card. Now, Joanna just fought, and I don't think I want fighters to fight like within a month's time. Despite the fact that this is, a game, I'm gonna kind of give Joanna at least another month or so in game time until I book her to fight. Now, do I want Shevchenko to defend her title, and does she even have anyone who she can defend it against that makes sense? Now, Rosie Namajunas, I think I'll have her fight. There's not a lot of females with high name value that will be a problem as we move forward. It's just it's Joanna and it's Nunes and kind of Valentina. And after that, it's not that great for the women. That is going to be a big task of mine to get women's MMA in the UFC more popular and to get these ladies some name value. So I think I'm going to put Rose on the main card so that way she can get her name out there. And let's see who she can fight against in the strawweight division. That makes sense for her. So Thug Rose, we're going to have her take on Claudia Gadelha. Jessica Andrade, we're going to have that fight. The rematch, we can... It'd be kind of lame just to book that rematch, even though they were going to do it. Claudia Gadelha, she's coming off a defeat. You know what? The only other alternative is just booking Zhang to defend her title, but she doesn't really have anyone she can do it against. So I think we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to do Jessica Andrade versus Rose Namajunas. And the winner, it would seem, the winner of that one, I mean, Tatiana Suarez, but I think she's injured in real life. Tatiana Suarez, we can do her versus Joanna. And then if she were to win that one, she would get a title shot. I think that's exactly what we're going to do. We can do Andrade versus Thug Rose. Winner of that one will take on Zhang. All right, let's go ahead and do it. So we have 2 fights booked. For pay-per-views, I like to do 5 main card fights. And that's only for the pay-per-views. For the TV shows, quote-unquote, I like to do 6. But for the pay-per-views, it's 5. 5 fights. And then for the pay-per-views, I do 10 prelims instead of the normal 7 that I would do. That's kind of how I balance it out, just because pay-per-view is supposed to be seen as like this big thing, a very grandiose type of affair. So you want to get all the fights on that card because everyone's going to be watching. And it's typically around 13 fights on a fight card whenever I go to a pay-per-view. I know there was like 12 at the Adesanya versus Romero fight card, and that was simply just because a fight got canceled day of. And so we're going to do 15 per pay-per-view, and then we're going to do 13 per non-pay-per-view fight card, just to kind of keep it rolling along so that we can have fight cards every week and not have to do 2 fight cards a week. And so Namajunas versus Andrade, and so we have 3 more fights to book here. So let's go up to male. We're going to only have that 1 female fight on the pay-per-view. And so now let's see what else we can book here. We have a lot of names on here. Let's see who makes sense to book on this fight card, though. We don't want any champions defending other than Khabib, because we don't really want to have anyone like kind of step on his toes a little bit. So Anderson Silva, a great legend, maybe have him fight on the card. Nate Diaz, not a champion by any means, but Frankie Edgar, I think. Frankie Edgar, Shogun Rua, and Uriah Faber. Alright, so Frankie Edgar in the bantamweight division. Want to get him on this fight card, and he's currently unranked. Now, we can do him versus Uriah Faber. I think that would be very interesting. 2 guys definitely in their twilight years going at it. They only have fought once, and it was 5 years ago, and Frankie Edgar won. That was still when Uriah Faber wasn't necessarily at his peak, and Uriah Faber is actually favored in this fight, and so I think this is what I'm going to do. Both these guys are coming off of losses, but it'll definitely be a fight that'll sell very well, especially considering the name value of both of these guys, and it's the California kid fighting in California. So we're going to go ahead and do it. Uriah Faber versus Frankie Edgar. All right, so 2 more fights, and I think I said Shogun Hua, right? So yeah, Shogun Hua will put on this card. And then one more, I think, probably a lesser known name. You know, maybe someone who's mid-level or low-level national, just so we don't get all the big names out of the way on one pay-per-view. Like Greg Hardy, low-level national. He's on a losing streak. So let's actually go ahead and take a look at the rankings, because we might want to do this via the rankings. Take a look and see who we booked via the ranking system. No fights in the featherweight division as of yet, other than Do Ho Choi. Bantamweights have had some action. Flyweights. Taking a look, featherweight. Could have a featherweight fight going on. Lightweights championship fight. Welterweights, a lot of things to be going on, and that welterweight division is absolutely stacked. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on there. Middleweights, we could do the Cannonier versus Whitaker fight that was supposed to happen. Might save that for another paper. Or I mean, why would I? See, a lot of different possibilities, but I don't necessarily want to blow my load immediately on all these big fights, because I want to be able to save some main events and some big names for later. You know, light heavyweights, we don't have anything going on in the top 10, and neither in the heavyweights. So let's go ahead. I just talked about him, Shogun Hua. Let's go ahead and get him a fight against someone in the top 10. All right, so Mauricio Shogun Hua versus somebody in the top 10 or top 11. OSP might make sense. Glover Teixeira. You know what? That would be a pretty good fight. Two guys kind of older, you know, but definitely an even fight between the two of them. A guy in the top 15 against a guy in the top 10. Makes sense. And I think we're going to go ahead and do this fight. Shogun Hua versus Glover Teixeira. It'll definitely be a slower fight than this Namajunas Andrade fight. So we'll go and put that second. So that means we have one more fight to book. And let's go ahead and see what we want to do with that. So light heavyweight we booked. Middleweight has some action going on already. Welterweight might want to look at. I think I'm going to do something in the featherweight division. And I think it's going to be the Korean Zombie versus Ortega fight that was supposed to happen. So let's go ahead and do that. So Korean Zombie versus Brian Ortega, who's actually fighting in his home state, so it makes a little bit of sense as well. Do we want to add this fight? Of course we do. And that fight, I think, is going to be our co-main, because if we take a look at the rankings, I believe those two are both in the top 5. Yes, they are. Max Holloway, of course, going to be fighting against Volkanovski for the featherweight championship in real life and in this save as well. So I think what I like to do is I like to have a little text document ready, so that way I can be able to tell who I want to fight against who. So I'm going to do just that. Let's go ahead and make a new text document. I'm going to call it New UFC. Let's go ahead and pull that up, just so I can show this for you guys here. And so what I would like to do is I like to kind of just keep tabs on it by doing this. And then from then on, I will list off my thoughts on who I want to fight, you know, for which title and things of that nature. It'll become very apparent. It's my handy dandy notebook, essentially. Alright, just kind of giving off just kind of putting the abbreviations for all the weight classes. Next would be featherweights. After that is bantamweights. And then after that is flyweights. Oh, not F-fly. Fly. Come on, let's go. You're embarrassing yourself here. And then after that is women's featherweights, women's bantamweights, women's strawweight, right? No, women's flyweight, idiot. And then women's strawweight. All right. So, let's go over my thoughts and what I want to do for these divisions. And so, for the heavyweight division, it is clear that it is going to be Cormier fighting first for the title, and then after that, do I want to do the Ngannou Rosenstrike fight that was supposed to happen? You know, I think I kind of do, just because it was already scheduled and it's more than likely going to determine who fights for a title shot in the near future. I would want to do Ngannou versus Blaze, but he's already fought him and beat him twice. So I'm not as sure if I want to do that. So I will do the Ngannou Rosenstrike fight, and the winner of that will receive a future title shot. Ngannou versus Rosenstrike. All right, cool. Next, we have the light heavyweights. And I'm very torn between Blachowicz and Reyes because both are definitely deserving. But I think Dominic Reyes is a little bit more so deserving, but his name value is low-level regional, which is not true at all, especially considering the performance he just put in. I'd say he's upped his name value a lot more after that fight, but I don't know if John Jones will want to fight him in-game simply because of that. Now, Blachowicz, what is his name value? Low-level national. So I I think I'll edit Dominic Reyes and his name value. I won't edit anything else. Won't edit any stats. Just his name value, and I'll make him low-level national, just so Jones will fight him at least in the near future. So I think we're gonna go ahead and give it to Blachowicz. We'll give him the next shot at the title. Alright, so Blachowicz. And then let's see what we can do after that. I typically like to have a backup plan, or at least a next in line type of fighter thing going on. And so for that, Anthony Smith, what is he coming off of? He beat Alexander Gustafsson. So him versus Dominic Reyes might be a pretty good fight. Has he fought Smith before? He has not. That is interesting. So Dominic Reyes versus Anthony Smith. Ozdemir, Walker, Rakic. You know what? I think we have our kind of next in line fight because Thiago Santos is out for a little bit. He's out for 4 months. So I think it's going to be Reyes versus Smith, and the winner of that one will take on Jones, or the winner of the Jones-Blachowicz fight, I should say. Reyes versus Smith. All right, cool. So the middleweights. Let's see what's going on with them. So Adesanya just beat Yoel Romero. And a very weird fight. I was actually there for that live. Now, I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen because Paulo Costa, I think, is injured still. And let's see how long he's injured for. He's injured for 42 days. And he's kind of the rightful, not owner, but he's the number one contender, essentially, even though Robert Whittaker is ranked higher than him. And so I think that's what we're going to end up doing, is we're going to do Paulo Costa when the time's right, and then we're going to have Whittaker and Cannonier fight, and then the winner of that fight will go on and face Izzy in his own right. The thing is, when I do these title fights, I try to book people who are on a win. Despite Yoel Romero being on a losing streak, he got booked to fight at Adesanya. That drove me insane, but I enjoyed the fight nonetheless. But I'm going to book people who are either on a winning streak or who at least have a win in the top 5. That's my priority as far as like booking people for title fights. Following that, anyone who just recently lost a title, I don't believe in rematches. That's my thing personally. I don't believe in rematches unless you have defended the title like 5 times, because that means that you are a deserving legacy champion and you've more than put in the work. You've more than put in the hours. You've more than proved that you are worthy of a rematch after that. That's the only reason why I'm okay with giving Max Holloway a rematch. That's why I'd be okay if John Jones got a rematch. That's why I'd be okay if like DC or Stipe got a rematch, because these are legends of the sport and we want to see them fight more often, Like if a 26-year-old kid loses his title, I'm not stressed over him, getting a rematch if over someone who's 37, because that 37-year-old, like they're fighting not that many times left in their career, so their fights need to actually mean something. The 26-year-old kid still has a lot of time under his belt, to fight and to be able to get back to the top. So I'm not too concerned with those. I'm concerned with the people who I know are legends of the sport and have proven that they're worthy of title fights and rematches and things of that nature. So, like right now, if Adesanya loses his title, that's tough shit for him. He'd have to work his way back up and get his title back. And I'm saying that, and I'm one of Israel Adesanya's like biggest fans. Same for Usman. Um, Habib, same for him. He's only defended it once. So, I mean, Volkanovski, same for him. Cejudo, same for him. Uh, no flyweight champion. We'll have to figure that out. That might actually be um, on the next UFC on ESPN card is that Figueiredo versus Benavidez fight for the title. We might have to do that next, and we might have to find more flyweights for the division, or move guys from bantamweight over to flyweight. And I know, take a look here. I know someone mentioned Nathaniel Wood on the last stream, and there you go, lost to John Dodson, but he is number 25 in the world, number 23 in the UFC. Still a very good prospect for the weight class, so we'll have to see what he gets up to. And so I lost my train of thought. We were booking the future of divisions here, and so it is going to be Paulo Costa, followed by Whitaker versus Cannonier. All right. So for welterweight, Tyron Woodley is probably going to fight against somebody, but he's not going to get a title fight off of that win because it's going to be Masvidal and then Edwards if he wins his next fight. So we're going to do the Woodley-Edwards fight that was supposed to happen at some point, but the next fight is going to be Jorge Masvidal. And why is he not international popularity? I think I'm going to take some time off stream and kind of edit these guys' popularity to what it really should be at. Because Jorge Masvidal not being international popularity, even low international popularity, is ridiculous. Especially when I think Stipe is international, but he's nowhere near the high name value that Jorge Masvidal has. So that's pretty crazy. So, like, what's Izzy's at? Because he's pretty popular. So he's low-level international, mid-level national in America. That kind of makes sense. Um, but like Usman, he's probably not going to be as popular. High-level regional, I'd say is at bare minimum low-level national. What's Colby at? If he's higher, like extremely higher, so yeah, that makes sense because he's yeah. But Jorge has to be international. Leon Edwards, if he's not low-level national and British at least, yeah, so that makes sense. But yeah, some of these guys just have to edit their popularity because it just doesn't make sense. Like Jorge Masvidal's an enigma. Like he's completely transformed himself over the last couple years. It's ridiculous, and he's gonna get the next title shot against Usman, even if he's gonna get starched by him. And so for the welterweights, it is going to be Masvidal, followed by uh, see, I'm thinking the winner of Woodley and Edwards. Colby's kind of just stuck in the middle there. Might do him versus Chiesa at some point. So, but Woodley got just destroyed by Usman. But if he were able to beat Edwards, I mean, that would prove that he's pretty deserving of a chance. So we'll go ahead and do that. So Woodley versus Edwards. Winner of that one will get a title shot. All right. So for lightweights, obviously it's going to be Ferguson and Poirier, McGregor, Gaethje. So now, this is my idea for the next pay-per-view. I'm going to have Conor McGregor fight Justin Gaethje, which is the right fight to do, which is what should be happening instead of Gaethje fighting Ferguson. And the winner of that one will then fight Habib. So Connor just beat Cowboy Cerrone, and if he was able to beat Justin Gaethje, that'd be more than proving that he's able to, fight against Khabib. Which does leave Dustin Poirier in kind of a weird spot. I know he's been calling for that Connor fight. He just lost to Khabib. It wasn't very pretty. So I mean, he's not in a position where he's about to fight for a title like right away. So I'm thinking Cowboy. I'm thinking Dan Hooker, not Kevin Lee because he just lost. So he's going to be fighting someone in the top 15. Not Al Iaquinta because he just lost his most recent fight as well. So it's more than likely going to be Cowboy or Hooker. So one of those two will probably be fighting Dustin Poirier. But McGregor Gaethje is the next one after Tony Ferguson. So let's go ahead and put that down. All right, so Ferguson, and we're going to put a little star next to it so we know that it's already been booked. And then McGregor versus Gaethje. All right, cool. Now, for featherweights, we already know that it's going to be Holloway getting the rematch. But let's see what our backup plan is going to be. Oh, we already know. It's Ortega versus Korean Zombie. Who did Zabit beat in his last fight? Was it Jeremy? It was Calvin Kattar. That's right. All right. And then it's Ortega versus Korean Zombie. All right. So for the bantamweights, Cejudo. See, here's the thing. I do not like the Jose Aldo versus Cejudo booking. It makes zero sense to me, especially when Marlon Moraes won the fight. Um, so it kind of leaves us in a weird spot because Moraes is like the number one contender and he should get a second title shot technically, but I don't think he's going to get it in real life and he's not going to get it here because he just lost to Cejudo. So Pedro Munoz, Aljamain Sterling, I think he's going to be the one who gets the fight. But we also kind of have a little bit of a predicament because there's a lot of guys in the bantamweight division that I really like and that have a claim to a title fight. Piotr Jan just destroyed Uriah Faber. Corey Sandhagen has been doing amazing, just beat Rafael Assunção. Marlon Moraes, of course. So I'm thinking Aljamain Sterling, and then after that I'm thinking a fight between Jan and Moraes. Because yeah. See, that's the thing. Sandhagen, I would want him to fight someone obviously other than Rafael Assunção. So maybe Sandhagen versus Moraes, and then Sterling fights for the title, and then Jan fights somebody else. Because I think Uriah Faber was in the top 10, so maybe someone within the top 10 once again for Jan is just another test. But he's already won 6 fights in a row in the UFC. Who has he beaten? That's what I'm curious about. And it's all within the span of like 2 years too, which is crazy. Yeah, because I was at that fight, Jones versus Gustafsson 2 fight, and I was at that Uriah Faber fight. That's crazy. Piotr Jan, just incredible. Whew. So, it's going to be Sterling, and it's going to be Moraes. It's going to be Moraes Jan. That's what it's going to be. All right, so the bantamweights are kind of settled for the time being. And now as for the flyweights, we already know that it's going to be Figueiredo. Did I spell that right? Probably not. Figueiredo. Close enough. Versus... Oh my god, why am I blanking? Oh my god, why am I blanking? Joseph Benavidez. Sorry about that. And that will be the fight to do right now. But as far as after that, I mean, there's not much, really. Jose da Silva just lost to Brandon Moreno. So, I mean, that kind of comes to mind. Pantoja, what did he recently do? beat Matt Schnell. So, I mean, the Pantoja Moreno winner, maybe? That's probably the first one that comes to mind. We need a lot more flyweights. We do. We really do. So it is going to be the Pantoja Moreno winner. Oh, and I just immediately exited the rankings. All right, so as far as women's featherweights, I'm not sure what I want to do because I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this division around. If I do, I might not have Amanda Nunes be sticking around as the champion. I don't like two division champions just because it kind of like log jams the division. But if there was going to be a division that's log jammed, I'm glad it's the women's featherweight division because as you can see, there's not a lot going on. I mean, Felicia Spencer versus Megan Anderson is the one that makes sense to me to do, even though they've already fought. Megan Anderson is coming off a victory over Norma Dumont. I mean, that's the only fight that I think makes sense, so that way I can have Nunes doing something in the meantime. But the fight that I have her wanting to do in the meantime, I don't know because she's not cleaned house, but I think she's kind of in the situation where Holly Holm's at, where I don't know if she'll fight anyone in the top 10 right now, just because they're not super big on name value. The one that I'm thinking right now is either Aspen Ladd or Irene Aldana. Um, but I'm not sure if she'd be up for that. I mean, Aldana's coming off a win over the number one, contender essentially, and so I think doing her against Ladd for a number one contenders fight makes the most sense right now. And so Nunes is kind of having to take a back seat essentially for a while, which sucks, but that's just, how good she's been. So as far as featherweights, it's going to be Anderson versus Spencer. And then for women's bantamweight, it is going to be Top Ladd versus Irene Aldana. And why am I spacing these out so much? Because I have to, I guess. Right, so women's flyweight division, a little bit more going on here. As you can see, Chukagian and I, both who Shevchenko have viciously defeated. And apart from that, I'm not 100% sure what we're going to be doing here, boys and girls. Because, I mean, the next one, apparently, is Jennifer Maia, who just lost to Caitlin Chukagian. After that, it's Andrea Lee, who just lost to Lauren Murphy. And Joanne Calderwood, I think, is the next one in line. And so, I mean, we can throw her to Shevchenko. Roxanne Modafferi, who just beat Macy Barber, who's number 11 now. I mean, whew, see, that's the thing. I don't think any of these people should be in the top 5, really. But, I mean, we can do Calderwood. She's the most recent one who has a victory in the top 5, technically. Andrea Lee coming off 2 straight losses then, right? Yeah, so she should not be in the top 5. It does not look like this has been updated in a little bit. Lauren Murphy beat Andrea Lee. So she's on a winning streak. So we're going to do JoJo. We're going to do Joanne Calderwood. And then after that, I might do Modafferi versus someone in the top 5. And then if Modafferi wins her next fight, she'll probably be next. So we're going to do Calderwood. And remember, this is all just like what I plan on doing. Like, these fights aren't booked yet. And I'm just going to put down Roxanne v top 5. So that way I know, like, if she beats that top 5 competitor, then she'll get a title fight. Because no one in that top 5 is getting a title fight after a win because they just got smashed. So women's strawweight. So we already know it's going to be Andrade versus Namajunas. And apart from that, Zhang is kind of just going to have to wait for a little bit. I mean, we can do the rematch for Joanna just because that was a great fight, even though that breaks my rule that I literally just stated like 10 minutes ago. Um, and I might just do that, just because it's a good placeholder for before Andrade and Namajunas finishes up. And it was an amazing fight, and I would not mind seeing it again in real life. I can tell you that. Amazing fight, amazing atmosphere. I'm, I was heartbroken for Joanna though, seeing that big lump on her head, and she lost. And I'm a big fan of hers. Um, so we'll go ahead and do Joanna versus Whaley for that, and then Andrade versus Namajunas, and then after that, no more shenanigans as far as booking people coming off losses. All right. So we are all set up as far as plan wise for titles and things of that nature. So we have to keep in mind all of these fights that I have listed here when it comes to like booking main events and booking, uh, booking spots for like top cards and things of that nature. So a lot of these fights that you see here are going to be either main events on fight night cards or on pay-per-views. And I like to do that to be able to get more eyes on those fights because obviously they're going to be fighting for titles potentially in the near future. So you want to put those fights in top billing. So we'll go ahead and minimize that. We'll go ahead and take a look at it later on. But we have our um, we have our main card for our pay-per-view already booked, and so let's book the rest of this main card: ESPN Fight Night Home versus Pena. And so as we move right along, let's go ahead and see if we can get another women's fight on this card, sorted by popularity. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, Sarah McMahon, looking at everyone with low-level national, Raquel Pennington, Felice Herrig. Let's go and do Claudia Gadelha in the strawweight division. And do we want her to take on Claudia? I think she's already beaten her, right? So they fought about 3 years ago. We can have her face Felice Herrig. It said this one would be a main show fight, but not a main event. That one's pretty easy, or even I should say, and so is the one against Herrig. And both on losing streaks. I'd rather give it to Carolina. Let's see here. She has a little bit more of a name than Felice Herrig. All right, but they haven't fought before, and I think we're going to go ahead and do that. So it's going to be Claudia Gadelha versus Felice Herrig. All right, so that's our other women's fight on this card. Go and take a look at catchweight male. All right. And let's go ahead. Where is current form? Not minimum momentum. I want low level national or something like that. Likely usage at least on main card. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's see who that brings up. Ooh. That's right, because this is a lesser card, not necessarily a throwaway show. So it's bringing in people who are mid-level national. And I'm not sure I like that. And so let's go ahead and just do this ourselves. Because, yeah, I don't want Yoel Romero fighting on this card. He would be fighting on a pay-per-view, even though he just lost. So let's go ahead and go down to, like, low-level national and just see who we like. Like Volkan Ozdemir. Can get him a fight. He just defeated Alexander Rakic in the light heavyweight division. Top 10. I do like this fight, and I think I would probably do something like OSP or Johnny Walker maybe. Corey Anderson. We could do that fight as well. I think I want Corey Anderson to fight Alexander Rakic though. Rakic is coming off of a win or a loss? Off a loss to Ozdemir. So let's go ahead and do Corey Anderson versus Ozdemir then. Book the rest of this main card and we'll go ahead and be done with this episode. So Ozdemir, or it should do Anderson versus Ozdemir, and it says it'll make a decent main event, which means that right now it is going to be the co-main event. And we have 3 more fights to book for this card. Go down to catchweight male once again. And I think we're going to do this by the rankings. We'll just go ahead and take a look and see who we can potentially put on this card just by taking a look at it right here. So Whitaker Cannonier I'm going to put on a pay-per-view, so I'm not going to worry about that right now, especially since Costa is going to fight for the title, so I don't necessarily need that fight to happen at this very second. Welterweights, I could completely change up the main event and just have the Woodley Edwards fight on here, which is what I'm thinking I might do. I could have one of these bantamweight fights on here. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to change up the main event because screw Holly Holm. And I'm going to make this the Woodley versus Edwards main event. That's if he will fight him. Yep, there we go. Strong main event, Tyron Woodley versus Leon Edwards. In North Carolina, of all places, LOL. Alright, so Woodley versus Edwards, good to go on ESPN. Alright, so now 2 more fights to go to book here. Let's see. Who else can we book? Take a look at the rankings. Nothing doing in the heavyweight division, so let's see what I can do here. I'm looking at Volkov, who's coming off that win over Greg Hardy. And I'm thinking of booking of him against someone in the top 15 at the very least. Do Derek Lewis again, that'd be funny. So him versus like Oleinik or like a Walt Harris type. Yeah, let's go. Is Walt Harris coming off a win? He is coming off a win over Oleinik. So let's go ahead and do Volkov versus Walt Harris. Of course, Walt Harris, very tragic year for him, unfortunately, having a lot of bad things happen to him in the past year. Hope everything is going okay for him. And so, it's going to be Alexander Volkov taking on Walt Harris. Alright, so 1 more fight for this ESPN fight card, and then we will call it a day. So, let's see who else we got here. Book something in. What's a division we haven't visited in a little bit? Lightweights. The featherweights could use something. Let's go ahead and do a top 15 featherweight fight. And I'm just kind of looking at the names here and just kind of going off the cuff. Someone who's on a winning streak. So Calvin Kattar coming off that loss to Sabit. Have him go up against someone in the top 15. Who's on a winning streak here? He lost to Calvin Kattar. Shane Burgos. How are you doing? You're on a winning streak. All right, let's go ahead and do it. Shane Burgos versus Calvin Kattar. Alrighty. And it said these two have fought before. Calvin Kattar won via TKO. So let's go ahead and change that up. Calvin Kattar versus Cub Swanson, maybe? Are you coming off a win? Yep, you just beat Kron Gracie. You lost to Shane Burgos, though. Ricardo Lamas, Andre Fili. Are you coming off a win? Coming off a loss to Sodiq Yusuff. Arnold Allen, undefeated. Just beat Nick Lentz. I like that. Let's do it. Arnold Allen taking on Calvin Kattar. Looks to be a pretty even fight as well. And I'm seeing the best suited for prelims thing, and I'm not going to pay a lot of attention to that, especially when they're ranked fighters. And a big reason for that is, of course, they're not going to be very well known, but I want them to be, and that's why I'm going to be able to put, and that's why I want to put them on these main cards to get their name out there. As long as I have a really good main event, or like a good 3 fights, like there are right here, like these are all main event caliber fights, then the rest of the undercard for the main card can't afford to not be as strong. And I think that's what I'm going to be doing here. Alrighty, so these are the 6 fights for this main card, Woodley versus Edwards. And so let's go ahead and book the rest of these, and we will call it a day. I will book all of the prelims for the other ones off stream, and then I think our next episode we will go ahead and see who we have signed, along with seeing if we can go ahead and get Weidman versus Hall on that episode as well. So Sanchez versus Condit, I'm thinking that's probably not going to be the main event for that one. So let's see, which one have I booked? I booked that one already. And Ortega versus Korean Zombie, that one's already booked. Andrade versus Namajunas, that one's already been booked. And then, okay. So I think I want to book at least one of these fights on this card. And I think that it's got to be something a little bit lower tier, like the Pantoja Moreno fight. Pantoja Moreno and Anderson Spencer, because I can afford to waste this one on an ESPN Plus card. So Anderson Spencer and Pantoja Moreno, I'm going to put on this card. All right, so let's go ahead and go to Wintom's women's featherweight. Anderson versus Spencer. I know they fought before. It's okay. All right, go ahead and go to flyweights. And we're going to do Moreno versus Pantoja. Winner gets a title fight. They fought before. Once again, that's okay. This is a title eliminator. All right, and so now all of a sudden we only have 2 more spots left for this fight card, and so we have to make sure that we make good use of it. And so I'm currently thinking maybe I'll put another one of these fights on there just to make sure that it's strong. Like Marias versus Jan would be a good one. So would Ngannou Rosenstrike. Let's do Marias versus Jan. Let's do Marias versus Jan. And that should be good enough for a main event fight, I'm hoping. Otherwise, if it's not, I'll have to put the Ngannou one on there as well. And it's not looking like it will be, because he's only low-level national. And I doubt Jan is very popular. It says great main event. That's great. Okay, cool. So the Marias versus Jan fight will be the main events, because it means a little bit more than the Sanchez Condit fight. But it's good because it means that we can book a less important fight on this card. Just make sure that it's at least main card quality. So let's go ahead and add a fight. Take a look at the ranking, see what we can do in the top 15 elsewhere. Somewhere where it's not as heavy in the top 15. So the lightweight division, like right here, or the welterweight division. Let's choose welterweight division. So someone in the top 15. Someone like Wonderboy Thompson or Damian Maia. See, Damian Maia would be interesting. Have Damian Maia, who just beat Ben Askren, fight someone like Neil Magny or Gilbert Burns, like an up-and-comer, or Jeff Neal, maybe. Yeah, let's go and do that. I want Jeff Neal to have a fight. So let's go ahead and go to Jeff Neal. Where are you, Jeff Neal? There you are. So let's just keep on going down this list until we see somewhat of an even fight for him. Matt Brown comes up. That is interesting. Now that is interesting because Matt Brown is not ranked, but he's very popular, and a win for Jeff Neal over Matt Brown would do wonders for him. The only thing that sucks is that he's not ranked, so losing to him would be equally as bad. But I think I'm going to do this. I think Jeff Neal would be able to pull this off. But that is to be seen. I mean, Matt Brown's a legend, coming off 2 straight wins. Fog of War is on, but he looks good. And I don't know if Jeff Neal is super OP in this game or not. It's not looking like it. So maybe not just yet for Matt Brown, but definitely give him someone in the top 15, top 10. Because who did he just beat Mike Perry, right? Yeah. So maybe let's just keep it like within right here. Someone like EZDS or Gunnar Nelson or Gilbert Burns. So Burns, Magny, or Gunnar Nelson. And it looks like any of those guys will be favored against him, but Matt Brown isn't. That's crazy. That's weird. Robbie Lawler. So let's go ahead and do him against Gunnar Nelson. No, let's go and do him against Gilbert Burns, because he just beat Damian Maia. And so Damian Maia really shouldn't be in the top 10 to begin with. So let's go ahead and do this fight. Gilbert Burns and Jeff Neal. And that Moreno-Pantoja fight says it's supposed to just scrape onto the main show, but it's basically a title eliminator. So I'll go ahead and leave it at that. And so now we have Garbrandt versus Dodson, which is not going to be the main event of this show, sadly, because I think we're going to go ahead and put the Ngannou-Rosenstrike fight on there instead. Or we could do Lad Aldana and not worry about it. Yeah, we'll go and do that. We'll put the Lad Aldana fight on there. So Lad versus Aldana will be the one like eliminator on the card. Not men's bantamweights. There's that. Aspen Ladd versus Irene Aldana. It said it's best suited for the prelims, but it's going to be the co-main events. Unless we can book something super impressive. And so for the rest of these fights, we're not going to do any of those eliminators or anything like that, so we can just go and take a look at the rankings and see what we like. Like for the flyweight division, women's wise, none of these fighters can really be on the main card, sadly. A lot of these fights in the women's divisions are going to have to happen like on the prelims until, you know, the ladies can kind of improve themselves and get their name out there and get some popularity under their belts. And so let's go ahead and do a lightweight fight here. Let's do something in the top 15. Something involving Islam Makhachev. I know he really wanted to fight Kevin Lee, and I think this is the time that we're going to have him do it. Charles Oliveira is going to fight someone in the top 10. Kevin Lee finally gets to fight against Islam. So Islam versus Kevin Lee. There we go. Okay, not super even, but relatively even fight between the two of them. It said it would be a strong main event, which is crazy. Um, I mean, not super crazy. LOL. WWE super crazy. Um, but it says it'd be the main event, and I would agree simply because it's kind of a grudge match. Um, Garbrandt Dodson really isn't, but they're two big names apparently, so we'll go ahead and leave that one up there, but we'll up this to the co-main event just to help out the card a little bit. All right, so next, let's see where else we could use a fight at. And I'm thinking like the heavyweight division, yeah. So something in the top 15 heavyweight wise, and I'm thinking Olenek versus somebody like Olenek's coming off a win, correct? Hello, Olenek's coming off a win over Maurice Green. So someone else who's coming off a win, not Blagoy Ivanov. What about Abdurakhimov? He lost to Curtis Blades. Tai Tuivasa, I think, is also coming off of a loss. Yep. Marcin Tybura is coming off a win over Sergey Spivak, which is cool. So Tybura versus Olenek. We'll go ahead and do that. All right, cool. So that says potential main event. Very nice. We'll go ahead and leave that right there. So we have two more fights to do. Let's go ahead and see where exactly we can do it. And I think we will do it in the middleweight division. And I'd like to get Derek Brunson. Excuse me. I'd like to get Derek Brunson a fight. And I think it's going to be against Ian Heinisch. So Heinisch should be coming off of a... Ooh, he's off 2 straight losses now. That's tough. And actually, I forgot that Brunson had already beaten Heinisch. So that's going to be a no-go for him. So maybe Brunson versus Hermanson? Let's see. Hermanson's coming off that loss to Cannonier. So I think that's the fight that we're going to do. Hermanson versus Brunson. Let's go ahead and do that. All right. Number 8 versus number 9 looks to be a pretty good fight. It says it would be a strong main event. I would agree. And so let's put it right there. The Lada Aldana fight should be higher up the card. So this is looking to be a pretty stacked card, though, the more you look at it. So we can take a chance on our final fight than on a women's fight, since this is a pretty stacked card already. I mean, look at it. Garbrandt Dodson, Lee Makachev, Lad Aldana, Hermanson Brunson, Olenek Tybura. That's a pretty stacked card. I would go to that card and be happy, you know, especially a card in Virginia, ESPN Plus card. That'd be amazing. All right. So, let's see. For our last fight, we can take a chance on the women. Which women's division do we want to give a fight to? Strawweights have a lot going on already. Flyweights do not, and neither do the bantamweights. I want to give the flyweight some action here. Let's give Chukagian a fight. She just fought for the title, and so let's give her someone to fight against. And I'm thinking maybe Roxanne Modafferi. So Chukagian versus Modafferi might be the way we do it. And it looks like it would just scrape onto the main show, which is good. And Modafferi is not a super big underdog, and I think being on a winning streak, she might just be able to pull that off. And if she beats Chukagian, she gets herself a title fight. So let's go ahead and do that. I want a banger to start off the show, so I think it's going to be Hermanson Brunson. And then we can move on with like that. There we go. Cool. So that is the last fight card that we're going to set up. Once again, I will do the prelims off stream, off camera. So our next time that we meet up, we will see who we have signed up, and we will go over the prelims that I had booked, and then we will also take a look at Weidman versus Hall in finer detail, as we move closer towards our first fight card here on this UFC Save. AZ Palaio 21 signing off. Be sure to like and subscribe. Subscribe to the Twitch channel as well. Thank you guys for the support, and I will see you guys next time.